Welcome to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvan Raghavan.
I have a significant distaste for people with such high productivity who make everybody else look really bad.
So anybody would ask me to do podcasts, anybody would ask me to write articles, anybody would ask me to give a talk at a campus. I did all of it. From that material, the book sort of emerged. The hard work, in a sense, started after the book was done. They made me rewrite the entire book at least 3 times. Should you hire a celebrity? Why and why not? The consumer promos destroy equity. Then why do we run consumer promos?
I want to talk about surrogate advertising.
Alcohol is in a way the purest brand. So you only talk to the converted. And it was very simply, Kotler says this, and this is what happens in real life.
I'm sure this will be a gold mine of information for anybody in marketing, advertising, anything to do with business. I joined Cadbury in 2008 and it wasn't a month end, and I told my team that they could leave around 6-7 o'clock in the evening, and they were shocked. They were like, we can leave 6-7 o'clock. I'm like, why? We had this boss, Saurabh Bajaj, and he was a bachelor, and he never understood what that family man needed to go home, and he would make us work like 27 hours in the day. So I was like, wow. So that's productivity, and they put it down to him being a bachelor. But I realized he's not. And he continues to work like 36 hours in a day. He writes prolifically on LinkedIn. He's a LinkedIn guru. He is a guru in true sense, where he teaches marketing courses. And this despite having a proper full-time day job. And now he's even written a book. So I have a significant distaste for people with such high productivity who make everybody else look really bad. So let's talk to him directly. Say, welcome, Saurabh.
Welcome to the podcast, Saurabh.
Indeed, a very warm welcome. Thanks so much, guys. In fact, while I've been saying only half jokingly that I've been, really wanting to come out to COP, when I was telling Sudeep that I know I've made it when I'm here, because finally what you look for, right? You look for recognition among your peers, guys you've worked with. So thank you so much for having me on board.
So it's a pleasure and an opportunity and a great, privilege for us to have you on the podcast, Saurabh. Welcome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, guys.
And the thing with getting friends on the show is that you never know when we're talking seriously and when somebody's being ripped apart. So,
okay, Khair, I think one thing that I think most of our audience would certainly be followers of Saurabh on LinkedIn.
absolutely.
That's because Saurabh has been, giving out pearls of wisdom of marketing on LinkedIn for some time, and many of his posts I saw went viral, right? But we will talk about that a bit later. Right now, if anybody is following Saurabh, I'm sure you're following his journey of becoming a first-time author, right? And the name of the book is The Practical Marketer. And let us first ask Saurabh to maybe tell us about how this book came about. It's not very usual for any marketer to, out of the blue write a book, and such a young age as well. And then we will dive deeper into, Saurabh, your inspirations for the book and where do you draw some of the examples and lessons from. Why don't you take us through this book journey, Saurabh?
Great. So, in fact, through the last couple of years especially, I've had a lot of time to introspect on probably where it all started from, right? Did it start from the 3-4 years just before the pandemic, where I was feeling a little restless? Did it start maybe 15-20 years back, where I first thought that I might write a book? But actually, for me, probably the aha moment was way back in my 6th grade. Because I got in touch with my English teacher recently, Mrs. Malini Podwal, from 30 years back. So I got in touch with her and I sort of reached out to her, spoke to her. And when I was speaking to her, I then realized that all through my younger age, I had absolutely terrible handwriting. I mean, so much so that I still can't read my own notes, right? I only make notes on WhatsApp or mail because I can't read what I write. But through my horrible handwriting, I would write good essays. And in my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the teacher would get me to read out my essays to the rest of the class. And I think
Nice.
then that that slight trigger moment of wanting to enjoy writing, wanting to and my the one time which I was really proud of myself was in my ninth grade, where I won a story writing contest. I had written a
Nice.
fiction story, and I was so proud, right? Walking up to the to the where the what do you call it here?
The
Uh,
podium or the stage to receive the award, is it?
Morning when you have the stage where the morning prayers etc. are held, right? That's where
Ah,
the
ah.
principal calls you over. So I still remember that act of like slowly walking down like life is in slow motion, and I'm feeling like utterly proud of myself.
Well done. Well done.
So, so I think it was then that that whole the journey sort of in my head sort of started saying that I think I can pen a few words, and then this took off, of course, in the pandemic because the first weekend of the pandemic, right, the first weekend of the lockdown is when I put up my first post. And it had been
Hmm.
bubbling for a while that I am probably going to start writing, kind of a thing. So I put out my first post and 35,000 views.
Nice.
And it shocked the hell out of me, saying that who are these blokes out there who are actually interested in reading what I'm writing? And so I promised myself a post every Saturday. And I would literally write the post down on Monday, Tuesday, refine it on a Thursday, Friday, and put it out with some amount of effort. It was not like I'm just putting what I feel like writing out there. I was refining it, I was putting it there, and I sort of hit upon a formula as well. So when I put out that post on a Saturday morning, first post 35,000 views, second post 15,000 views, third post again 25,000 views, and by the fifth post, I was having sleepless nights, saying that is this going to continue? Is this a dream? What's exactly going on? And it went on to continue. So I built this following of 45,000 odd followers, and somewhere there was probably a good karma at play because I never said no to anybody. So anybody would ask me for
Mm.
a podcast, anybody would ask me to write articles, anybody would ask me to give a talk at a campus. I did all of it, right? And as I did all of it, from that material, the book sort of emerged. It was not that I
Nice.
sat down and said I want to write a book. It's through my content, somebody called me and said that, can you do a book review? He became a friend of mine, Rajesh Srinivasan. There's another guy called Uday who runs something called Menza. He said, send me your material and I will, see, because he wanted me to cover Menza. So I sent the material to both these gentlemen. And Rajesh Srinivasan, over an entire weekend, he sat down and he went through all my material. And
Wow.
believe it or not, he put it on an Excel sheet. He's Chennai based, by the way. So he put it on an Excel sheet and said that, you know what, this is the structure of your book. You have already written 14,000 words out of a 40,000 word book.
Hmm.
So he gave the structure to me. And then I had to just fill in the gaps. And that's how the book came into being.
Saurabh, you sent this material to Rajesh. You copied this material from LinkedIn or it was stored with you somewhere?
So actually, while I had written a lot of different posts, right, and those posts were there with me in a Word document, in different Word documents, but actually, the concept that I was working on then was different. The
Hmm.
concept that I wanted to write about, what my original thought was, 3 decades of Indian advertising and evolution of society. That was my original thought, and which
Okay.
is why I did the whole podcast of iconic ads with Devlina and Saurabh as a way to do primary research into how ads have been made. But actually, the articles which form the book are the articles I never expected, because those articles were written on this website called Case Reads. And there's this young guy who's doing his MBA then, and he had a learning difficulty, so he would make notes for himself. And he said that, if you are going to make it really simple, then write on my website. So I enjoyed that act of writing on his website so much, I wrote some 14 articles for him. And
Oh,
a
wow.
Nice.
lot of those articles, very interestingly, were, I would have this challenging discussion in office, say, where, my boss would be saying that, why do we want to do a consumer promo? Doesn't make sense, right? Or we were trying to triangulate a celebrity in Nepal, right? Or I would be trying to explain it to my managing director in terms of how exactly are we looking at a brand architecture? And I would kept thinking that it's so straightforward and simple. I mean, I can see this. Why are all these very senior people around me not just seeing this? And hence, I would just write it into this sort of 1100 word article and put it out there saying that, pad lo, kind of a thought, right, to everybody, saying that this is what it is. Yeah, it's as simple as ABC. Why can't everybody just see it, right? So it was those articles that actually became the skeletal framework for the book.
Nice.
So
So
your
next time,
rants against your bosses became the core for your book.
those are not rants, Sharan. Those are explanation for lesser mortals.
Yeah.
So the
You
next
you
time,
could also call it that.
yeah. So next time Saurabh walks into a meeting with a book in his hand, you know who you are. Okay. But the one thing, Sharan, throughout what Saurabh has just said and how I have known Saurabh in the past, stands out for me is Saurabh's ability to plan and to persevere,
Hmm.
right? Very few people that I know would be able to put up an effort and find a teacher after 30 years and talk to them
Right.
and have and the teacher would remember them that you used to write great essays, etc. And your handwriting was so bad that I had to ask you to read it out in front of the class. And then have the positivity of Saurabh to think through that my essays were so good that she asked me to read it in front of the class. Yeah. I've seen Saurabh have this, planning, perseverance, and positivity throughout. And I think it is, quite ample in evidence when he's talking about his book as well. And how much did you have to persevere, Saurabh, after having written the LinkedIn articles, etc., to get it into a book? Tell us about that journey specifically.
Sure. So, while, like I said, Rajesh gave me the framework, and then, once I had sort of a framework in place, then I just sort of cut it through butter, right? It's literally like we would be having our AOPs going on, but that temptation to finish that one more article, right? Till maybe 2 in the night. We'll finish our presentation of the day, but I just want to get the article done because, it's just locked in my head and I need to get it out, right? So that cut in about 2 years' time, the book was ready, right? But the hard work, in a sense, started after the book was done.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. So after the book was done, it took me another 2 years to actually get it out.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So the book was actually ready when I had exited Britannia. But once the book was done, I was very clear in my head that this is not going to be a tick mark. Is not going to be just any book that I'm printing for the sake of printing. Because if you just want to do a tick mark, you could, self-publish, you can go to an Amazon, you can do all of that. But I said, this is going to be something that I want to make big. It has to
Mm-hmm.
be, like virtually something like a classic. It has to be done right, right? So to really make this book work, right, what I did is first, through the pandemic, I had given about 40 odd talks. So I was in touch with 10 or 12 college professors, MBA marketing faculty, right? So I sent all of those people the entire draft, saying
hmm.
that go through it, tell me what you think about it. Is there any chance you would recommend it to your students, right? And give me your edits, give me your changes, so on and so on, right? Second, I sent this draft out to around 30 odd publishers. It was a classic spray and pray approach. In fact, the
Mm-hmm.
first publisher who was interested was Shrishti. And I was not fully satisfied because they typically look at first time publishers, first time authors, and some of the contracts felt sort of lopsided, and I was not fully satisfied, right? Luckily, I hit upon Jaco Publishers, which I was very happy to work with. And I was like, yeah, this is one of those top 2 or 3 publishers in the country. They're the right guys to work, right? And that faith was well reposited because they made me rewrite the entire book at least 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And the way they would do it was amazing. I mean, it's a 45,000 word draft, right? And they will go line by line with a style guide on the basis of their editing, make all of those changes with track, and then get me to accept every single one of them. And in those
Oh,
changes, there will be things like these examples are not clear, build them more. add some examples here. So I mean, they literally and then this stuff is jargon. Put it in the glossary. Replaces a simpler word. The whole piece, right? So and they finally, I mean, their claim to fame is the monk who sold his Ferrari.
Hmm.
So
Oh,
they
okay.
know what they're doing. So they did a fairly exhaustive job of ensuring that every word is perfectly crafted per se. Then I started getting paranoid, saying that, while almost all of the book is from my head, but yeah, I am referring to some concepts by, say, Simon Sinek, right? Or
Hmm.
Start of the Why. Or there is a little bit of Byron and Sharp in me, because when I was in Diageo, the entire, the entire Bible was that book, and right, when we used to do
Hmm.
artwork management, right? Or is there any other theory that I might have referred? Is there something where I've not explicitly picked up anything from anywhere, but is there anything at all? Am I giving the right, am I calling out that, this is where I've learned this from? Or is there any other leader who might have a point of view which is not fully consistent with mine, right? So then I went to the whole act of ensuring that I either have reached out or given the whole right merit. I've shared the book again with a bunch of authors who have again proofread it. They've ensured that everything is played up properly. Yeah. And then I said that, what, anyone and anybody who has had a chance to work with me during that time and who could have a point of view, right? Now, whether that is somebody in contract advertising, in Interbrand, it could be in Diageo, the CMO there, or maybe Anil, right? Because he has seen a lot of the journey, right? I want to ensure that everybody who has had a role to play, right, has read the book, has understood, given their point of view, so that when I create this as a holistic package, and everybody would feel that it is fully complete in that sense, right? So hence, I spent a lot of time, and I probably took maybe a year more than that was required. I mean, I could have got it out maybe a year earlier. But when I did get it out, I wanted to ensure that I have touched every base. I've reached out to everyone, who will have a perspective, a point of view. I've acknowledged anybody who has played a role of this journey. And the final package is something that I can, be absolutely proud of, saying that, what, this is the best effort that I could put on.
Now, tell us, Saurabh, a little bit about the content of the book. You've spoken about posts, you've spoken about inspiration. Now, our entire audience is largely people who are connected to marketing and startup ecosystem. A lot of them have specific questions around creating brands, running businesses based on brands, etc. Now, for somebody who is looking to get some of these learnings out, what are 4 or 5 things that they should look out for whenever they are able to get their hands on your book?
Perfect. So the book is divided into a set of segments, subsegments, chapters, and so on and so forth, right? The first set of chapters, right, is what hits us when we move from sales to marketing,
Hmm.
Hmm.
right? When we move from sales to marketing, it's like this mega shift, right? Where so far we only spoke in Excel sheets, and now we have said, please put Excel sheets in the appendix, right?
Hmm.
And you're like, the slide only I should have an Excel sheet, right? Of
Hmm.
course, I've got my full circle because telecom does it the other way around.
Okay.
So the first section is all about, how, when you move from sales to marketing as a, say, young brand manager, how life changes. What are the KPIs you look at? What are the new ways for measuring your own business? Second thing, what I found very interesting is that if you remember when you were working on this annual plan with Chandramouli, again, God bless his soul, he helped us discover a way of building category strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That way of building category strategies is what he built bottom up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because there was no literature or a set way of getting at it.
Right.
When I went to Britannia, I found something similar. Okay, that's the way it is. In telecom, it is exactly that, because telecom is a set of a price point, voice, and data. Right, it's very, very simple fungible products. Right.
Hmm.
So I realized that all of category strategy across categories is built simply on these 5 steps. First step is penetration. Right? After you get into more households, you get frequency. You get the same guy to have more. Right? Third is ticket size. You get the guy to have a higher put down price. Fourth is premiumization. You get him to buy something more expensive. And finally is cross-sell. You sell the same guy something different, right? Now, something as simple as that can build all category strategies. But having taught brand management at BIM Trichy last semester, I can tell you it's not there in management theory.
Hmm.
And it should be, right? It's just such a simple, structured way of building your annual plans, right? Similarly, some of the questions that we all grapple as marketeers, right? Should you hire a celebrity? Why and why not? What are the pitfalls for it? There is no chapter in any marketing book about how and why you should hire a celebrity, right?
Correct.
Consumer promos, right? All marketing literature always confuses you by saying that consumer promos destroy equity.
Mm-hmm.
Then why do we run consumer promos? And they have a very, very relevant role to play in a lot of categories. In the fact that when it comes to biscuit, the consumer promo is often more important than the brand, because price value equation is really critical there, right?
Right.
Right. Similarly, if and ever we have a challenge, okay, as a brand person, we run over to the insights team and say, "Ki dhanda nahi ho raha hai." And the insights team pushes you back and says, "Research question kya hai?" And we are like, research question, iska kya matlab hota hai, right? Because we don't even know as brand people what are the various kinds of researches possible, right? So hence I've listed all of them down, saying that these are the various researches possible. This is what is the tool that does it. This is a gist of how, and hence if you want to frame your research question, this is how you do it, right? Then the difference between shopper marketing, customer marketing, trade marketing, right? Or how do these ad agencies come together? Like, what's the process, right? How do you work with a digital agency, a media agency, and a creative agency? All three seem to be doing the same things, right? But how do you really structure to get those winning campaigns out?
Even if they're not doing the same thing, they're wanting to do the same thing for sure.
Correct, or at least what either other guy do, right? And even I really enjoyed my stint at Diageo because the AIDA funnel is reversed, right? So there is a proper science to surrogate marketing, right? There is science on why surrogate marketing is allowed, right? A lot of people crib and say that, oh, but that beer ad of soda looks just like a beer ad, and so on and so forth, right? But there's a rationale for it. There's a rationale on why surrogate marketing is allowed, and there's a rationale on how do you practice surrogate marketing. So all of this, in very simple how to do kind of steps, is what I've covered in the book, saying that, what, end to end, if you want to practice marketing, you might be an entrepreneur, you might be a student, you might be a professional wanting to move from sales to marketing. This is like your mentor in your hand, right? This is exactly are the questions that you would probably want to ask, and this is how you would do it.
Nice. So it is like saurabbajaj.bot in your hands.
I've in fact put on a nice website as well called
Oh, okay.
www.thepracticalmarketeer.in.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Because obviously .com is very expensive. So
Okay.
the practicalmarketeer.in has been designed as a perfect complement to the book.
Right.
So
Excellent. Lovely.
if students and faculty pick up the book, then all of the examples that I mentioned in the book, care TVCs or backgrounds are there on my website. So the students can come prepared for the class by going through the ads on the website and the literature in the book. I've also housed the website with all my podcasts. So if they want to do a project and if they're interested in backstories of ad campaigns, is there. Like example are Ramesh Suresh, right? What was really the brand task? How did they go about it, and so on and so forth, right? And I've also a bunch of my talks, my journey, etc., is also loaded up there. So it's like a fully loaded website. It's the perfect complement to the book.
Correct. So Saurabh has almost said that I have put everything at one place. Now don't ask me to do anything else. All backlinks are created. Now my job is done. I want to get on to something else, bigger, better, etc.
Yeah, I'm sure this will be a gold mine of information
Yeah.
for anybody in marketing, advertising, anything to do with business. Because
Yeah.
you not just created content, right? So a lot of us create content, but to consolidate it, organize it, and make it accessible on a need basis. I think that's fantastic work, sir. It's fantastic.
No,
I think I'm
I
going
quite love it as well.
to.
Yeah. Well, I have you got me interested, Saurabh. You through the bait, and I am about to take it. I want to talk about surrogate advertising. I'm one of those who cribs. When I was in when I was in campus, in my final placements, I did not sit for ITC and for any of the other categories that I thought I didn't believe in. I just thought that surrogate advertising is immoral. Now I got really interested when you were saying there's a science of it, there is a reason how it is done, why it is done, etc. Just spend a couple of minutes just explaining it to me, please.
Sure. So, and again, just to take a step back again, one of the concepts which I'm personally quite passionate about in the book is the brand task, right? Where I put it out there that there are only two kind of brand tasks possible. Okay? And what I enjoyed is because when I wrote that article and I sent it to a close friend, she pushed me back and says, "What is all this? This is bullshit. This is not the way it should be done." And why are you saying there are only two tasks? So when you have a degree of opposition, then you know you're in a good thing. If everybody agrees with what you're doing, then maybe you're not sort of hitting any edges, and hence it has to be a little edgy for it to be exciting, right? Now, this concept of brand task is where I got my understanding of surrogate advertising. So I'll lead to that, right? But the understanding that there are these two brand tasks were pulled out of a particularly frustrating conversation with Sri Molly. Okay, when Molly and we were obviously jostling around on Cadbury celebrations, Molly said, "You're making these lovely ads of तो इस दिवाली आप किसी खुश करोगे, but तो इस दिवाली आप किसी खुश करोगे grows everybody. It grows the category. It grows Kurkure gift pack also, Real Juice gift pack also. It grows everybody. I don't want to grow them. I want to grow myself." So
Okay.
I was sort of stunned, and I was like, "What does that even mean?" Right? I mean, I'm making an ad. The ad is getting my business done. What do you mean I don't want to grow somebody else? Right? And then I reflected back onto the scorecard, which Anand Kripalu measured himself on. Every quarter for 8 years. Every quarter for 8 years, his pillar number
RAG.
his pillar number 1 was grow category through dairy milk. Steal share through 5-star perk and gems. Right? So that's where that insight hit me. There are two very distinct tasks. The first very distinct task is grow category. And when you grow category agnostic of brand.
Right.
Correct.
When a brand goes out there to grow category, it grows everything. It gives that particular behavior, right? So when Dairy Milk says Pehli Tarikh, on Pehli Tarikh, any chocolate can be had, not necessarily only Dairy Milk.
Right.
Because
But that's usually spoken by the category leader.
Market leader.
Yeah.
Often done by the category leader. Yeah. But at the same time, it could have also been done by, say, the Whole Truth, right? Whole Truth is not a category leader, but they can build a behavior towards consumption of healthy food in its sense, right? So,
Right.
grow category is done the way you define it. It's a new behavior. It's a particular category. Yeah. And it often gets users from outside the category. So when you do grow
Penetration.
category, right, you get mithai consumers, right? When you use Chick shampoo 50 paisa, you get Shikakai soap users, right? So anything that gets users from outside your category is grow category. Then there's a second task which says, don't buy the other guy, buy me. And that is steal share. And if everybody in the category is doing steal share, the category is going to stop growing.
Right.
There are no new behaviors coming in, right?
Yeah.
So hence there is grow category and there's steal share. Steal share is often the challenger brands category, challenger brand strategy, right?
Yeah.
Grow category is often sorted in the product organoleptics or nuances, right? You say that chocolate has got the gold standard of chocolate, hence it allows me to steal from mithai, right? Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola is again rooted in the fact that you have to have Coca-Cola in there. You cannot do Thanda Matlab something else, right? Because finally you have to woo people from buttermilk to cold drinks, right? And hence aerated drinks. So
Sure.
the whole logic of surrogate marketing is that the grow category task is not allowed.
Grow category task is not allowed.
You can't get people who are not drinking or smoking alcohol or tobacco to get them to start. It's not an initiation journey. It's more a
So, I remember it was a pretty standard journey when I was in alcohol, right? Every year, about 5% population growth, volume growth,
Hmm.
5% premiumization, price increase, 2% innovation. Roughly 10 to
Hmm.
12% is what we would target and deliver every year, right? And hence, the task of an alcohol marketer was, my distribution is fixed. There's no further distribution that's going to happen because for the last 75 years, there have only been 100,000 shops selling alcohol, including 5 stars.
Hmm.
So on-premise, off-premise has been 100,000 licenses, no more, no less, right? And each license hence can cost up to crores. Only if something is shutting down that the license gets short. So you cannot grow distribution. Customer has to come to you where you are, right? Otherwise, a lot of grow categories simply distribution led.
Right.
Yeah. So distribution does not grow.
Mhm.
Premiumization is important. So whether you want to withhold stocks, whether you want to give a smart reason for people to upgrade, you drive upgrades. And then innovation, like I said, is 1 or 2%. That's probably true. And the innovation there could be more packaging led. There is this project which I worked on called Projectarian, which is your scotches in hip flasks, plastic hip flasks of Johnny Walker and so on and so on. Right?
Mhm, mhm,
So hence, because grow category is not allowed, in surrogate advertising, you do not show the actual product.
Hmm.
You do not show the actual product. You age gate it. You have to be an alcohol drinker to access the promotional material, whether that is advertising on an online site or whether it is stuff that you do inside the shop itself. So you only talk to the converted. You do not convert anybody new,
Hmm.
right? But steal share is fair game, and steal share often does not require the actual product because the consumer already knows the category.
Hmm.
Because the consumer already has to just shift from one to the other. If I do those ads of music CDs with Jagjit Singh, right, which say Imperial Blue does, it's fair game because somebody who is not an alcohol drinker is probably not going to get the context in the first place.
Hmm.
Because you do it riding on a surrogate, you only talk to the converted. You only talk to somebody who can join the dots between the alcohol category and the surrogate.
Got it.
That's the reason why the pristine laws of surrogate marketing in spirit. One is a letter, right, which is the exact mandates that people have to follow. But at the heart of it, why do they allow surrogate advertising? The reason they allow it, they say steal share is fair game. You want to battle it out between the two of you or three of you, go ahead. Please do that. Just don't get new guys into the funnel. And hence, for me, it makes a lot of sense.
Some of it, Saurabh, also seems like imagery driven advertising. There are brands that do fashion shows or uh,
Calendars.
calendars and stuff like that. We all know of Kingfisher, etc., etc. Somehow, those specifically. So there are like you're saying, music CDs and all of that, which is more around gain share. Some of the imagery driven advertising somehow seemed like appealing to fresher, newer set of audience who would possibly connect with that. That's how I saw it. At least some
Right.
of the Kingfisher work that I saw.
Absolutely fair. So while the laws of advertising, right,
Mhm.
would be to not grow initiation or penetration, right? But eventually, all of marketing is about penetration. All
Mhm.
of marketing is fundamentally about getting in new users, right?
Mhm.
Now, the way the alcohol category does this, and I find it really fascinating. In fact, the talk that I've given at most campuses
Mhm.
is the practical marketeer. And believe you me, this was the exact title that I'd crafted in 2020 without knowing that that is what I will write the book about, right?
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
presentation, I pulled it together in about 25 minutes flat. And it was very simply, Kotler says this, and this is what happens in real life. I mean, that was
Mhm.
the entire presentation over on 30 odd slides, right?
Mhm.
The most exciting segment of that is segmentation through need scope, which
Mhm.
is what Narayan cracked for Bonvita, if you remember in the day when they shifted their advertising to Tayari Jeeti, right?
Mhm.
Where he was trying to explain the different kinds of mothers and so on and so forth. So need scope is how most alcohol companies do segmentation. Now, the
Mhm.
interesting part is they rely on the product characteristics to
Mhm.
try to understand their penetration journey.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And hence, what are those emotions that they should own. Okay. Now, personally, like I said, I had a fabulous time in Diageo, not just because of the good quality spirits that we could drink, but also with the fact that alcohol is in a way the purest brand, because there is
Explain that.
zero functional differentiation.
Hmm.
All of alcohol is C2H5OH, it's just ethanol. So there is no product differentiation whatsoever. And I love the way vodka category is able to say that, what, there'll be 4 levels of price for an odorless, colorless, tasteless drink. I mean, there is no visible marker whatsoever to build any kind of a functional rationale, right?
There's some flavor that they do from time to time, right?
So, yes. And let me tell you the story. So, in the neat scope, right, the occasion that Old Monk owns, and the reason why probably Anand is also happy to have is Old Monk, right, across the world, is because rum or even any initiation whiskey. So Cadbury, the Celebrations rum, right? The McDowell's #1 Celebrations rum or McDowell's #1 whiskey. It uses a Yari narrative because the narrative which they own is of brotherhood, about a circle of friends where there are no heirs. There are no. It's like the coterie, right? Who sit together inside a hostel room and they have that alcohol for the first time, right? And hence they own the Yari narrative. While vodka, always known to be a feminine drink with flavors like green apple and so on and so forth, owns the EDM because the high energy engagement need state is when penetration of alcohol in the women cohort happens. They have that small shot of vodka with an orange juice and nobody can know they're drinking because vodka is odorless, colorless, tasteless. Similarly, American whiskey owns the independence narrative. Okay, I'll have it my way. While Johnny Walker owns the man-making journey. So they own the progress narrative. So if you go to a bar, you will see those Johnny Walker bottles lying in an angle. Like the smallest, bigger, all carrying 750 ml of alcohol. They've just deposited more glass to make the bottle bigger. And the bottle which is bigger is your marker of aspiration, saying that, you know what, have you progressed enough to now deserve this? So you can move from a red label to a black label to a green label to a gold to a blue and never back, right? And they semiotically call it out. And the Scotches have been losing to American whiskey for the last decade because the millennials want to do it their way. Unlike the Gen X's, they don't want to be defined by a particular time in their career journey. So hence the alcohol journey and the entire insight creation process in alcohol was called the myth creation journey. Because it's not reality, right? It's a myth that is created. It's a myth that is created by a combination of the consumer understanding in those occasions and the organoleptics of the product that allow you to deliver this.
Very interesting. I find it very hard to relate to the category, but it seems to be making sense as you speak now.
You're creating cracks in Sudeep's walls of ethos.
No, not at all. No, whenever I have seen most of these brands, I couldn't understand largely what they stand for and why are they stocked in the way they are stocked.
Right.
But possibly it makes sense.
At 45, the question paper for your life gets leaked. Now's the time to change your gears from achievement orientation to contribution orientation. But I think the cornerstone of my marketing journey has always been celebrations.
Amongst all the celebration campaigns, the one that we ragged Saurabh a lot about was this one about Rishton Mein Ghule Shararat.
I was not very happy about it.
As is the case for most marketers when they're getting into a stint, which might define their career journey later, most of them are not happy about it.
When you said people move from sales to marketing, there is a certain transition that has to happen. How do you think people can manage this transition now, when there is too much information available and you can't tell the difference between the right and wrong advice?
The more you know, actually, the less you know. Of finding a gap or finding a short-term gain, or is it a sustainable strategy is what the question always.
Insight junkie or innovation junkie?
And what's better for a marketer, working on a large brand or working on a small brand?
Thank you for listening to CoBB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Shravana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at copcast.net.